What's up, y'all? We're getting ready to acid stain the concrete in the living quarters in the barn today. First thing is make sure that your concrete is slick. I mean, the top needs to be burnt in. If you really want a good variation in color, the concrete does need to be finished like that. If it was hand troweled, broom finished, it will not turn out and have a marbly effect. So the slicker the finish, the better the product will look in the end. But the first thing is you're going to scrape the floor, make sure you don't have any sheetrock mud, glue, plumbing glue, floor glue, whatever. Just get it all scraped off and vacuumed. Then we'll come back and use TSP, which is trisodium phosphate. It's just a heavy duty cleaner. We'll take that, mix it with hot water. You can rent a floor scrubber that scrubs it if you have a big area. In this case, in my case, I don't have a lot of square footage. It's kind of hard to move the machine around. So I'm just gonna get old manual out and we'll use just a brush, and then I'll mop it after I clean it like that. But you let that dry. Then the next step is to paper off everything that you want protected. Say because when you spray it, the bottom 16 inches of your wall, if you have drywall, if you have trim up, whatever you have on your walls, doors, anything that needs to be protected, you need to go ahead and paper. I use just a brown paper. I prefer it as to plastic. Plastic it won't let the stain dry, so when you take it off, it makes a mess. It's hard to get off without making a mess. So that's why I just use a regular brown craft paper, or red rosin paper probably work too. But after that, get that all taped off, you're ready to go to apply the stain. I just use a regular pump up, just a standard pump up sprayer. This is Kemiko brand acid stain, and the wax. This is the finish. But I'm going to use 3 colors on my floor. But you just put it in the sprayer, mix it 50-50 with water. You spray it on there. I let it sit usually overnight, like 12 hours. Then we'll come back, apply more stain, let it set for another 12 hours, and then we will mop it off. And we're ready to apply the wax. I kind of go with the wax. I prefer the wax over, say, the clear slick finish, the epoxy finishes. I've seen a lot of them that's really scratch up real bad. In my opinion, the wax holds up a little better to traffic. It's a little more forgiving, and if you need to come back and, say, get some scratches out, you can rebuff it or apply some more wax. I think it's a little easier than applying a slick epoxy finish. But I've always stuck with Kemiko. I've always had great turnouts, results in the end, so I just always stuck with Kemiko. But with the wax, it's just a paste wax. You install it with a buffer. It's got a stiff bristle brush, a medium bristle brush, and a soft bristle brush, and then you use the white pads to finally finish it out and buff it off at the end. And like in my corners, here's a little tool I made. It's just a paint mixing paddle with a stomp brush on it, but I'll show you how that works after a while. But anyway, we're going to get with it, so follow along.
When mixing the TSP, use hot or warm water. It is a bear to get it to mix with cold water. It doesn't dissolve in it very well at all. No special tools needed. I just used a brush, and I just used a mop, mopped it up just where it doesn't set and pool and puddle. Here we have the paper. Like I said, protect whatever you want to protect. Just use brown craft paper and some painter's tape. Painter's tape does pretty decent to create a clean, crisp line. But if you're going to run the buffer over several times, be careful. It can get underneath it. Here we go with the first color of the 3. And you can mix this stuff 50-50 with water, 1-to-1 with water. But you just put it in the pump-up sprayer. I just put some water in the jug, pour it in there, pump it up, and we're ready to go. When I do 3 colors, I don't have any certain type of pattern. I'll just kind of put some color here, put some color there, and leave me a pathway to walk on. That way you're not stepping in the stain, because if you step in the stain and you walk on some clean concrete, you'll have a footprint. As I spray, I just kind of keep the tip of the wand in motion. Just kind of keep a little round circles or just back and forth, just kind of where it won't pull up and create large puddles. This is an acid, so I do recommend using a rubber glove and a safety glass of some sort. If it does get on your fingers or your hands, it won't burn through, but it will irritate it. This is the black. I'm not going to use a bunch of this because I don't want the floor as a whole to be really dark. So I just kind of put very minimal black on the floor. This is the golden wheat color. This will be the majority of the floor. Kind of gives it a nice, rich, kind of a, well, just like it says, kind of a golden tone. Don't drink it. Don't do it. But it's kind of, it'll be the main body of the color really on this first go around. Like I said, just that way on the last color as you come out, you're walking on dry concrete. And usually when I walk out of the room, I'll have something to wipe my feet off just in case you do happen to step in it. Like I said, it will mark up fresh concrete with a boot print. Now that we've let it set and dry overnight, you can see it has dried up. You can walk on it, it's fine. But we're going to mix up some more color and put another application. Here's the walnut. But we'll mix it up 50-50 with water and get to spraying. After you get the water into the sprayer, go ahead and give it a good shake before you pump it up and start applying the stain. When I spray the second time, I try to use the colors and hit them on top of what I did the first time. But if you don't, if you overlap, that is totally fine. It just creates more of a realistic, natural look to me. And then I'll just go over the top and spray it all with the golden wheat again. Well, here's a closer view of the tip. Just kind of keep it moving. That way you're just not creating puddles. That's what you're looking for, is those little speckles and the contrasting color. Now that we let this thing cook another 12 hours, we are ready to mop. If your floor still has places on it that are wet or damp, that is completely fine. The water will neutralize it. And then the mop is just basically we're just getting that top coat of residual color left on the floor. That way the wax sticks better. Here's the Stone Tone wax. Make sure you mix it up really well, or have wherever you get it to shake it up, because it will be separated when you open a new gallon. All right, I started all of my corners and get those done first because the buffing machine can't get directly into the corner. I just use a putty knife, put some wax on, and then use an acid brush and really just rub it into those pores. And but make sure you got a little ventilation because the wax it's pretty stout. It's got a pretty good odor. But as you can see, the little brush marks, that's fine. We're going to let it set for about 10-15 minutes and then use that little buffing tool that I made to get in those corners and even out those marks. All right, here's the 20-inch buffer. This is the stiff bristle brush. This is the medium bristle brush and the fine bristle brush. And then you finish it all off with the white foam pad. We're going to use all of these to make this concrete shine. I usually just take a putty knife. That way I can fling the wax onto the floor. You can use a brush if you wanted to, but the putty knife is easier to clean. And then, yeah, you just get the stiff bristle brush and start working it in there with the buffer, man. This is where it really starts getting beautiful. I mean, it really, you'll see all the colors in the floor. You start putting this on there. When I apply the wax, I try to work in about a 10 foot by 3 foot area. That's my reach with this buffer. It does really well. You get too big, it'll start drying. And as you saw those buffing marks, make sure you get those out of there. Make sure you work it all into the pores, and you do not want to leave those buffing marks at all. And if you do have some ridges that are left in there, you can go back and use mineral spirits to soften them and kind of knock them down. But if you don't get them flat in there, they will dry, and you will see it on the final product. All right, you can see all the wax has been applied on this section of floor. You can kind of see it's nice and hazy. That means it's dry. So we're going to put the medium bristle brush on and start buffing it. Look at that. That is what I'm talking about, man. It's crazy what you can take concrete and make it look like. But we're basically just sanding the floor with brooms. Really. This is the medium bristle brush. We'll do the whole entire floor. Then we'll swap over to the fine bristle brush or the soft bristle brush, and we'll do it again. There's nothing really hard about it. There's a lot of labor in it. I mean, you're taking 20-inch pads and just going over this entire floor. But look at that. You can see the buffing pad in the floor. It's so shiny. But this really puts the finishing touches on it. That's what I like about the wax. I mean, you really buff it on there. It gets a real nice sheen. It's not super high gloss. I don't care for the super high gloss like with what you get with the epoxy, but just enough sheen for me. And it holds up to traffic really well. We're ready to peel up all of the paper and tape. I like to use the painter's tape. It's not too sticky, so it's not gonna mess up your walls. Plus, it makes a nice clean line. All right, y'all, there we have it. Thanks for watching my tutorial video on how to apply Kemiko acid stain and Kemiko stone tone wax, coming at you from Big Sandy, Tennessee. So I really do appreciate you watching, and go ahead and hit that follow button.